be me, about 6 or 7. Identical twin. Share room with twin bro. Family going through rough patch financially, living with grandparents in old ass house in the old German part Texas. One night, heard door to room creak. Heard twin bro say something indistinct. Thought he got up to get a drink. Went back to sleep. Next morning at breakfast, twin bro asks mom if she came in to check on us during the night. She says no, asks Oma if she did. Oma says no, they ask why. Twin bro says he woke up and saw someone with long hair staring at him in the doorway. They tell him it was just a dream. Few days later, I have forgotten about it. Twin bro asks if I saw anything last night. He's kind of pale. Says he saw a hooded figure standing on the ladder of our bunk. Pinched himself to see if it was real, showed me his arm. Practically ripped a small chunk of skin off his own arm. Says the thing didn't go away for several minutes after he pinched himself. Hooded thing apparently retreated into the closet we weren't allowed to open. Eventually ask Oma why we're not allowed in the closet. I just keep some old things in there. We can look at them if you're careful, and promise not to go looking in there by yourselves. Okay. We look in closet. Nothing really interesting in there except an old seashell like you can hear your blood in. See fedora. Sweet Indiana Jones MP3. Oma snatches away fedora. That belonged to my grandfather. Don't touch it. Okay. Only other thing in there that's not buckets of clothes is this creepy Amish doll with no face, which looking back was weird because Oma and Appa were Catholic. Couple years ago, looking through big old family record book Appa kept, only has his own line in it, nothing from Oma's. All German. Ask if we have any other ancestry. I was obsessed with the Celtic countries at the time. I like redheads, sue me. He says no, in a kind of weird way. Ask Oma. She says sure, gives me a binder full of her dad's pictures. I don't really know what's in these, Anon, but I hope you find something interesting. Holy shit. Half of them were war photos. Not normal ones like I'd seen in Nat Geo or anything, photos of fucking dead people, mass graves, and shit somewhere in Southeast Asia, Korea or Vietnam. By there, who's the spitting image of my dad? Airborne Ranger tab, carrying a fucking tomahawk. Also found some letter. Apparently my great-grandpa, Oma's dad, sent these pics to his dad, who was horrified and disowned him. Hated our side of the family for ages, eventually drank himself to death. There were more pages, but they had whole paragraphs missing, either cut out or covered in old-fashioned whiteout. Find picture of great-great-granddad. He was an Indian of some kind. With long, black hair. I've seen other weird things, but that's the only one I can't explain. Everything else is probably sleep paralysis or my night terrors. Apparently twins are more likely to suffer from those. Never found out what the doll was. I'll bite it's my first post on X. Apologize if I fuck up my post somehow. A little intro to these experiences. I was the bar manager there. Other staff had experiences, would talk about them, but other staff would usually be like yeah right, or would call you a drama queen. Generally ghost stories were shamed, so I have never shared these experiences with anyone other than my girlfriend. First one. Middle of the day and staff are about, but I'm the only one in the building at the time. I'm cleaning down my bar and restocking and emptying my glass trays. I lift my gaze into the restaurant. I see a gaunt figure sat in one of the chairs looking at me. It disappears almost immediately, but after this encounter I thought maybe I was a schizo. The face almost looked female. I couldn't make out any details, as it seemed to be there for a moment, as if a camera flashed. Encounter 2. In the kitchen alone, leaning against the dishwasher waiting for the chef to arrive. A fridge door opens and closes in front of me. Decide to pretend it never happened. I investigated the door, couldn't find any reason. Naturally I'm a skeptical person, but came to X after many experiences like this. Encounter 3. Working with the maintenance man moving tables out of a dining room. I rest his ladder against a wall and help him roll these giant circular tables out the door. As we roll the table through the door, the ladder stands vertically for about 3 seconds before hitting the floor. We put it back up. After the second table, the door slams behind us. Maintenance man believes in ghosts and yells, "For fuck's sake, stop it." The door stops slamming after every table, and the ladder stays upright. He says he believes the ghost is a naughty child, and listens if you yell. I laugh it off, but even after the experience I never truly believed. I left the job years ago, and never experienced anything like it since, so I doubt it's mental illness, but the experiences really made me question myself. Lying in bed, head turned to the left. Think that I should probably turn my head to the right. So tired that I have this lazy feeling to not turn my head. Tried to get myself to turn to the right anyway. Suddenly discovered that no matter how much I desire to turn my head to the right, there is some mental block that prevents me from moving at all, even though I'm completely capable. Literally the strangest, most outlandish feeling I have ever felt. I start feeling panicked. Suddenly feel a strong, constantly tightening pressure on my right arm. Start hearing a high-pitched screech that in normal circumstances would be laugh-inducing and pathetic, but in that time made me think that death was approaching. Suddenly the sound and the pressure on my arm stops. I can also move normally without the weird mental block. Creeped out, but think that since I have no physical marks, it must have been my mind playing tricks on me. Fall asleep shortly after. The pressure on the arm and the screeching weren't even the parts that troubled me the most. It was the completely unreal mental block that prevented my movement. It was completely different from just being blocked from moving. I knew that I could do it, and wanted to do it, yet something in my mind was against moving. In the conscious part of my mind I completely desired to turn, but it was like there was some unconscious part that did not want to move no matter how much my mind and body tried. It creeps me out because it's so unexplainable. How can there be a part of my mind that is capable of completely overriding my body and my desires? Got a bunch, here goes one. Be me, about 18 years old. American, visiting family in Colombia. Go on a road trip with cousin to another city. We are from Barranquilla, visiting Santa Marta in the northern coast of Colombia. Have a great time driving home through very shitty road on a pickup truck. It was about 1 a.m., almost no street lights, so it's dark AF. Road is built parallel to the sea. We were heading south, so the sea was on our right. On the left there's mangroves and swamps and whatnot. Making small talk with cousin, when suddenly something jumps onto the road, coming from the ocean side. I hit it going 40 mph. What the fuck, JPG? Start freaking out, thinking I killed somebody. Suddenly whatever it is I hit starts to get up. My face when it looks like a giant dog, but it stands on 2 feet. The thing is probably 6 feet plus. Cousin and I froze in fear. Tried to look at the face of this thing, but can't make out any features. It's as if the face of this thing is vibrating, so it's all blurry. I notice, however, that the creature is wearing a fanny pack. The fucking thing speaks. It yells out, "Had you up, you son of a bitch?" Takes off towards the swamp. I floor the gas pedal and get the hell out of there. Cousin and I trying to make sense of what we saw. Get home around 3 a.m., wake up family, tell them the story. They say it was probably in witch that had transformed. Both cousin and I were both sober. No way in hell we hallucinated that shit. We both saw the same thing. Still have no explanation as to what it was. It is not uncommon for people to practice black magic and witchcraft in the northern coast of Colombia and the small villages, as they all have strong Indian heritage, especially in the most northern parts. Pick related, it's the road that we drove on. It looked way shittier back then. Used to do paper route ages ago. New route opens up near my current one. Take it, because I had time and more money is always good. Big mistake because it's entirely country, and I'm delivering to the housing developments dotted across that half of the county. Solid miles between these gated communities with nothing between but fields, hills, and trees, so I deliver something like 5 to 10 papers at one, then waste 10 to 15 minutes just driving to the next for a 200 paper route. Gets better near the end though, because the gated communities are apparently only half a mile between, and that's where the bulk are, and each house gets a paper. Weird why they didn't just build them all next to each other. It's all for the same medical company that just cropped up, but it saves time. Only negative is I have to wait at the front gate for a guy in a security box to ask me why I'm there and what I'm delivering, to open the gate for me for what's maybe 10 houses in the whole place. does a quick inspection of my car by just shining the flashlight through the windows from the outside before letting me enter or leave. They have one at each of these little pocket communities, and there's maybe 8 of them in that area. Back then my general opinion was fuck it, just hurry up. For damn near everything, so I honestly didn't really think much of it outside it being inconvenient and wasting 5 minutes of my time on a route that's 95% a waste of time. About 4 days into the new route, start trying to find ways to shorten the trips between, because there's country roads everywhere, even if they're just Farmer Joe's old tractor trails and Google Maps was shit back then, and didn't even have the dirt roads map, let alone those. Start early to save time, so it's closer to midnight than 4 a.m., but whatever, just pick roads that seem to head towards my next neighborhood. Actually goes decently well, but have to remember to avoid the tractor and four-wheeler trails in my shitty car next time. Getting near the close together security gates communities. Hilly and full of trees, but they still have country roads winding through it. Also, I decide to see if I can find a shorter route while I'm at it, even if they have short distances over normal roads. Anyway, going through one of those roads that dips between hills, and as I crest top, see a decent-sized open field with one of those huge bonfires where they stack 10 logs teepee style in the middle of it. Takes me a second to notice it's surrounded by a bunch of people all wearing business suits. Think 1950s style business suits with the pointed shoulders, complete with hat and suitcase. Has to be 20 of them, and they all turn to look at me. No idea how I didn't see the light from anywhere else on my route. The fire is huge in the middle of the night, and it's not so hilly you wouldn't at least see the glow from it. Turn my brights down for a sec out of instinct, and they all start walking towards me really quickly. Nope. See, the road curves off to the left, so I just floor it and go. Don't really know how, but I'm back on the main road. Just do my route as normal, because whatever that was my default after the scare wore off was fuck it. Guy at the first gate says I'm not allowed in anymore. Ask if I should just hand him the papers then. He just says no, and tells me to leave. Reverse back and park off the side, and call the boss. Tell him the guy's not letting me in or deliver. He says just go to the next one then. Same story at each one. Boss says whatever, guess I'm finished for the day, then just drop the papers back off at the depot. Come in the next day. Boss says he's been requested to take me off the new route and asks me what happened. Tell him about it. Just kind of goes hot. Do my normal route, and the boss calls me in the next day. Asks if I want the old route back, those small gated communities on the back end stop service. Just say fuck no, it's not worth it with half the papers removed.